Hi, and welcome. Thank you so much for clicking in. Um, Thank you, first of all, for all the lovely comments from last time. It really meant a lot to hear from you what you thought about the content and just trying out something new, for cheering on, for trying something new and being courageous in that way. I appreciate that immensely. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This time I wanted to share this book with you and what came up when I got this book. So I got this book for Christmas from a dear friend of mine, and I totally love it. Let me read it for you quickly. It actually is a very quick read, so stay tuned. Beautiful pictures. Here we go. I am a warrior goddess. Each day I greet the sun and the earth and the wind. I train my body for battle. And I train my mind for battle too. I fill my heart with kindness, the most powerful weapon there is. I am a leader of the strong and a defender of the weak. I am grateful. I am generous. I am fierce. I am loving. And I belong to a family of warriors, and my family belongs to the earth. At the end of each day, I say good night to the sun and to the earth and the wind. Even warrior goddesses go to sleep. I love this book so much. It's super cool. They have actually made a sort of story time kit. I'll post it with my newsletter if you want to know more their activities. This book is for years, kids years 4 to 8, but I think it's for everyone. And why it resonated so much with me is because when I grew up, I was super fierce. I was this independent, super fierce little girl. My mom told me how I would do my own thing, super independent. I would even take care of my little sister, that she was not as independent as I was when we were kids. And when I started school, I started to realize that I was a little bit different and that I looked different. I lived in a suburb of Gothenburg in Sweden, and there weren't all that many immigrants there. So people had mostly blonde to brownish sort of hair, and then it was me, my red hair. And I got teased a lot for that. Maybe not my closest friends and so on in my class, but other just walking out, people were like, oh, freckle face, and it's burning, and there was even a song that was called 800 Degrees it was by a famous rock band, and people would start singing that. So it was that, like, being singled out for being different, looking different, and it wasn't looking different in a beautiful way. It was like, it was usually negative. And so that fierce little girl started to doubt herself. And I felt that there weren't all that many great role models for a little redheaded girl that looked a little bit different. Pippi Longstocking, thank God for Pippi Longstocking, though. I love that I had her on my team. But most of all, and maybe this is because it played into my story, but most of all, I saw in TV series and so on, if they wanted to have some like ugly kid that was sort of outside, it was sort of a super redhead with a lot of freckles. So that was sort of painful as a kid. I remember there was a lot of pain around that. And I think there was a lot of pain around like that fierce little girl that started to doubt herself, and so on. And this book really is about belonging, I feel. Um, and belonging, I thought for so many years, is something about belonging in a group, belonging to your family, belonging to community, and so on and so on. But what I realized later on is really that belonging really is, you know, belonging to ourselves. If I started to be different just because I wanted to belong, I gave up on myself, and then it's not true belonging. I don't know. Have you ever felt that if you're in a group like with a lot of people, and there are a lot of people, you go home and you feel lonelier than if you would have been sitting at home. So that sense of belonging, I think that is it's a primal thing for us. We want to belong. However, the belonging is, we have to start with belonging to ourselves. Yeah, as you see, then this girl is a redheaded girl, so therefore I also loved the book a little bit extra. But I think it applies to a lot of girls and boys too. The message about belonging, not only to ourselves, to our families, to wanting to belong to the earth, really. There is research that has showed that the people that have the strongest sense of belonging are actually the people that truly and fully believe that we are all connected, all people, earth, and so on. So there's a lot there. I read this in Brené Brown's newest book, Braving the Wilderness. She quotes a favorite of mine, Maya Angelou. Don't quote me on that. And she was interviewed by Bill Moyer in the 70s, and in this televised sort of interview, she says to Bill, "You're only free when you realize you belong no place. You belong every place, no place at all. The price is high, the reward is great." I think that is such a beautiful quote by Maya. And Bill then asks her, let me see. I had a bookmark there before. Do you belong anywhere? Bill asked Maya. I haven't yet, she answers. Then he asks, do you belong to anyone? Angelou answers, more and more. I mean, I belong to myself. I'm very proud of that. I'm very concerned about how I look at Maya. I like Maya very much. I like the humor and the courage very much. And when I find myself acting in a way that doesn't please me, then I have to deal with that. I think this is such a beautiful and profound sort of knowledge that she has about belonging. Belonging is so, so important for us. And I remember I think it was in 1995, UN had turned 50. You know that the UN was founded in 45 after the World Wars to try to unify Europe so that we wouldn't have these wars, awful first and Second World War. And 1945 it was founded in October, I think, and in Sweden in 1995 to celebrate its 50th anniversary. One organization was going to. I saw this ad about one organization in Sweden was going to send some 12 youth out into the world to be volunteers or helping UN volunteers in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. And so I applied, and out of all these hundreds, applicants. I was super lucky. I don't know how I got in. I thought that was such a long shot, but somehow I got into that first selection. Well, I got in all the way, but I was so super happy to get into the first selection, where they had like 2 days of us. They had interviews with us. We had to do group work, and then there were like these people from the organization that were looking at how we interacted with other people, how we answered, of course, all these questions that we were asked and so on. And we were sitting in a round circle, and one of the leaders said, "Hey, Monica, come into the circle." I'm like, "I'm in the circle." "No, you're not. You're outside the circle." And I looked, I was like, "No, I'm inside the circle. I'm like right there." And it's like, "No." And then he sort of pushed me in a little bit. And what I realized, I had put myself maybe half a feet or just like 1 feet. I mean, I was in the circle, but just a little bit outside of the circle. And that was one of those profound things for me when I realized that my sense of not belonging was manifested in that way, that I could not even, I wanted to make sure, right, that was a way for me to just manifest my feelings inside, right? Like, I am sort of here and I show up, but not fully here. I'm not fully in the circle. Huge. That was such a huge revelation for me. And I, started to look at, how that was manifested in my life and so on. Huge stuff. And I think it's so important. And this work is hard work. I think that what she's saying, Maya Angelou, is, the risk is high. Let me see here now what she said. She says, the price is high. The price is high. And the reward is great. And I think that's it. It's not easy to belong to ourselves, to be fully ourselves. But the reward is so great. And why I love this book is, like, again, if we can get these messages to our children early on, I think that's profound. I wanted to end with a little quote that I actually have had in my newsletter before, but I think it's such a good one. It's from an unknown, and it is, maybe the journey isn't so much about becoming anything. Maybe it's about unbecoming everything that isn't really you, so you can be who you were meant to be in the first place. Love it so much. Thank you for listening. Mwah. Bye.